Homeschool or no school. That's right.
Yeah, we're trying to.
Yeah, very good. I mean, that's part of learning. In there for part, you know, you have to have certain things.
So I can call it
So why do you measure?
Is that okay, Sarah?
Really not. She's like, oh, you're here, I never do it.
Focus on.
Right. Have to walk down that.
Well,
What you get? Support for the squad car turning. Did you get this one? Yeah, it doesn't show it yet, but
It won't show it in there.
it'll show it
It'll
on.
show it on that spreadsheet that we do.
Yeah, that's right.
We do this, the budget. Have you seen that spreadsheet that we do for budget time? Were you here at budget time last year? Right after budget.
It'll be.
Come into the office someday and I'll show you, so you're kind of ready for budget time that way. I didn't realize you were after budget, I was thinking you were before. So come in, I'll show you the reserve funds and everything, they're all on the
That's where it
spreadsheet
is.
within Excel. And it'll show it all there, what was spent, what was brought in, everything. So that won't show you, the reserve funds don't show it correctly. It's all tracked in the spreadsheet, and I will, like I said, pop in sometime, I can pull it up anytime.
Well, we sold it for 16.
Sorry about that.
No. I sold it in years ago. Yeah, talked about it last meeting. Yeah. So it's good. I'm just going to talk about the meetings I went to. Still running the radar. And I'm going to talk about the speed signs so that they understand that they might, in case they notice or citizens notice, how come they're not working? Because we don't, Is it not? Well, the radar speed sign that we have. Oh, yeah, they're in for the school. Yeah, they're in closer for the school. That's what we need. But the batteries, the Nike batteries are shot. And so we just can't keep it going. And so we're gonna have to make a decision, either switch to lithium and rewire the signs. It's gonna have to all be rewired and charge the batteries or buy new signs. We should just buy new signs for solar, honestly. But that's a budget meeting. It's a budget issue. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you all here tonight. It's 7 o'clock on Tuesday, February 1st. Getting one ahead. So let's go ahead and begin our meeting. First item is the Pledge of Allegiance. So, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Nelson. Your roll call.
Dave Burkhardt,
Here.
Joe Boyd,
Here.
Kathy Brooks, here, Steve King,
Here.
Lynn Norris, here, Bill Norris,
Here.
Aaron Kinder.
Here. It's good to have everybody back. Welcome back, everyone. First item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which is the minutes from our last regular meeting and the bills to be paid and the financial statements. Sarah, I think you had one update.
Yes, the bill that's laying in front of you was the engineering work for the Dollar General sidewalk, so that's what that is, I got that, and need to get it approved. And then also the Plain County Chamber of Commerce, Dave and I spoke about that today. It used to be, we had to be a member of that, tied to insurance somehow, but we do not anymore, so he was wondering if that's something we want to continue or not, so I don't know if he'll leave it on the bills or not.
I don't know how many years we've been a member of the Plain County Chamber of Commerce, but I don't think they had any benefit of being a member. You did have to join it a number of years ago based on the insurance you get. We've changed the insurance, so we don't have to be a member anymore. The other villages I've talked to are not members of the Plain County Chamber of Commerce either. So if we want to drop that, does anybody have any reason to stay in? I'm sure we can join again later point in time if we want. So we're gonna drop that bill then and not pay that. So, are there any other questions on the minutes or the bills? If not, I'd like a motion to approve the consent agenda with the addition of the Patrick Myers bill and the deletion of the Plain County Chamber of Commerce bill.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda, the addition of the Patrick and Meyer Associates bill.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any final questions or discussions? Not, Allison, roll call?
Joe Boyd.
Yes.
Kathy Brooks. Yes. Aaron Kinder.
Yes.
Steve King.
Yes.
Bill Morris.
Yes.
Lynn Norris. Yes.
All right, next item on the agenda is my reporting. First, I want to thank Denny and Mark for the progress we're seeing on 303 South East Street and 411 South Plain Street. Both those houses, you drive by, you can tell there's a lot going on there. It's good to see progress being made on both of those. So, Denny, thank you for your persistence. Mark, thank you for your help with getting that going. So, it's good to see progress. Next item is the ARPA request that the Mayor's Association has made to the county. They made a recommendation to the county on how we would like to see them assist some of the villages with some of the county ARPA money. That is going to go to the county executive board. I think it's March 10th will be on the agenda. So it's been presented to them, and it's now just a matter of getting questions answered and then getting on the rest of the agenda and seeing what happens with that request. Build Illinois money. We're talking about several kinds of additional money. So we've got the ARPA money that we get, we got 123,000, and we spent that on the truck and the camera and the jetter. We will get another $123,000 payment probably this fall, and we'll have to figure out how we're going to spend that. The ARPA money can basically go to water, drainage, broadband, make up for lost revenue, or to assist businesses or revenue. So being water or water drainage, there are a lot of possibilities there on how we can use it. So the uses for ARPA money will still be the same. The Build Illinois money that we'll get in, Danny, what did you think? We'll get about 40,000 additional this year. Okay, that will go to motor fuel tax type projects, roads, sidewalks. However we can spend motor fuel tax, is how we can spend the extra Build Illinois money we'll get. And then the state grant that we will be applying for shortly. The state grant can go to infrastructure, public security, and safety improvements. And so several of the things we have could fit under multiple categories. So we're being careful in what we're going to apply for the state grant. You know, that if we could build it under infrastructure, under ARPA, we'll probably put it under ARPA. And because we got plenty of ways we could spend the state grant money. So we're trying to watch that as we go through here and get everything together. So Danny, I think the additional Build Illinois money was in the MFT budget, wasn't it? Some of it?
The past stuff that we already had, yes. So that Rebuild Illinois money goes directly into the MFT account, so to speak.
Okay. I do want to schedule some budget meetings for March. Budget will need to be done in March and April again this year. So I would like to know if the first regular meeting in March is March 1st. I would like to know if March 8th is available for budget meeting. March 8th and 15th. Those are both Tuesdays,
What time?
7 o'clock.
I have conferences that night. I could be here after like 7:15, 7:20.
Okay, it'll take minutes till you get here.
Dan, is that right on the dates? Wasn't the 8th is a Tuesday, isn't it?
Right.
Okay.
Did I say something?
I think you said it.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
you want a budget meeting on Monday?
On Tuesday, March 8th, and Tuesday, March 15th. Tuesday, March 1st is our regular meeting.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
It'd be 28 days in February, so today is February 1st, so a month from now would be March 1st.
Okay.
So,
That's right.
so does anybody see any issues right now with the 8th or 15th? If not, we'll have our,
Would you be able to zoom into those meetings?
yeah, you can zoom in unless the governor changes the requirement.
Just because the week of the 15th is spring break, might not be here.
Yeah.
But I can zoom in.
So. And Officer Cotty, if possible, we'd like to do the police stuff on the first meeting. If you and Steve can work on the police budget. And then I want to do employee reviews either at the end of the first or at the beginning of the second meeting. So. This is going to be different. We have 4 trustees evaluating 1 employee. So we're gonna just have to figure out how the best way to do that is. So we'll have
Whoever
the
likes
budget.
me the best will work fine.
Okay. Status on the sewer study. I know Denny and Greg have been working, and you see that pile of documents that's laying there. I believe that's 136 different blueprints that we had, or CAD drawings, that we have nothing electronically for. One of the reasons there's so many is for each of the, what were there, 9 phases and.
7 in Prairie View and 5 in Katy.
Okay, And each of the 7 phases in Prairie View had multiple different CAD drawings with it. So each of those has been scanned. We think there's a total of 136 there. That's what we're gonna get billed for. That bill we do not have yet. It will be around $2,300 or $2,400, and it was not part of the original budget. But what it will do is kind of bring us into the 21st century. I'm stealing a phrase here from Greg, because we'll be able to take those diagrams and overlay them. We want to see all of the existing water lines for the city. We'll be able to put it all together and overlay stuff, and it'll really give us a lot of flexibility. And we'll also have automated prints. You won't have to worry about the ink fading out and paper copies getting torn and damaged. And so, Greg, would you like to add anything to that?
Denny and I were talking just as the meeting was getting started. He's thinking that there's not many, if any, other drawings. I think there's probably some information that we still need that maybe is floating around. And those drawings or details would need to be scanned also. And then what we would need to do, our engineering firm would need to manipulate these drawings into the composites that you're talking about. So we have had these both copied and scanned for the village. There's a fresh set of drawings for Denny and the village to work with that aren't at risk of being damaged, that are from, you know, the 90s or even probably into the 80s, some of the drawings. And then what we have had done is they have sent those electronically. I have a disk of those drawings for the village so that they are now preserved. And then there will be the expense of us putting all these drawings together. And as the mayor said, our intent is to have an overlay of all these drawings so that we have that is important to the sewer study, all the correct right-of-ways, all the correct easements, all the correct lot locations, so that as we put together the drawings that the village is going to work with into the future, they're accurate.
Do we need to purchase some software? The village owns some software, to be able to manipulate those drawings?
The village, if the village doesn't have the ability to work in AutoCAD, that's correct.
Okay.
It's typical though that you're not going to want to manipulate those drawings as much as call them up, and having a PDF that you can have on the computer and then be able to enlarge or shrink or print is probably all the efforts that the village would want to do. AutoCAD is a little difficult to work with.
I mean, if we wanted to overlay a couple together in the future, though, we'd need AutoCAD. I mean,
That's correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Or you would have the parts and pieces necessary to assemble those, to have somebody do that.
Yeah, something good.
Having that ability will be good. And having AutoCAD software and the expertise to use it is going to be probably beyond what we want to do. And I'm sure we can use your expertise or local expertise depending on what we want to do. So,
And then as the mayor said, I mean, the stack here you can see, it's all on this, all of it. So, you know, this, I'd recommend, and we can make another copy of that. I put one in the vault and then have one available for day-to-day use, because I mean there is a lot of value there.
okay, so that's kind of where we're at. We're still doing the background work, getting everything put together. So as soon as the weather breaks this spring, I think Greg and his business will be able to make good progress on our study. Does anybody have questions for Greg? If not, I do want to thank you for coming, Greg. I know your trip home might be a little fun, so
I hope not.
I hope not either. not feel like you need to stay.
Okay, appreciate that.
If you feel you want to get a head start on the weather, we all understand. So,
As long as the meeting doesn't run exceptionally late, it's my pleasure to be here, and I just soon ride it out. And then they're saying it's not supposed to start until 10, 11, 12. I hope you don't go that long.
okay. I'll make sure we don't. Thank you, Greg. Okay, any other questions on the sewer study? If not, I want to talk about the grant that we're going to be applying for the state. Looks like we're approved for $200,000. Sarah, will you pull up that spreadsheet? We have a list that I sent projects to the board here about a month ago. And this is that list. It's got some prices in it. It's got additions. I don't know who can read it, who can't. Maybe make it a little bigger.
Maybe, hold on.
Yes, Kathy?
Well, with the additional cost for the sewer study due to the scanning, et cetera, probably that should be. I said, due to the increased cost of the sewer study, we might want to increase that 30,000 to like 35 or 37.
We could, there's going to be, my plan is
X here first, I think.
there's $250,000 to $300,000 worth of projects on here in case any of them aren't approved. I'm sure the building will be. We've got safety, under safety equipment. Dan, would you like to talk about our hydrants and gate valves for a minute?
Yeah, which as Dave was saying earlier, it falls under this category, but I think it would also fall under the ARPA category as well. But the situation we have with the hydrants is, per my education at the conferences, it's good to replace hydrants at the 50-year mark. Well, so with that being said, hydrants typically have a gate valve where they come off of the main. They have a gate valve that you can isolate the hydrant. So if there is a problem with the hydrant, you can shut off that gate valve. Well, we have 19 hydrants in town that are over 60 years old that don't have any gate valves on them. So what that means then, if that hydrant would be turned on by one of us to exercise it to make sure it works, or if by the fire department to put out a fire, do any training, etc., and they couldn't get it shut back off, or we couldn't get it shut back off, then we would have to shut down the gate valves and shut down that block until that was able to be repaired. So that's a little concerning to me. So that's why I've got that on the list to get valves for each one of those, and each one of those hydrants is beyond the 50 years. The city of Springfield puts on a nice presentation every year about hydrant maintenance and et cetera, and that's something that they did again this last fall that I went to. So I think it's something that's very, very relevant for what we were doing. And then as we move into the budget year as well, that we need to look at the total number of hydrants that we have and divide by a 50-year life and try to get that on the schedule, as well as I hope to work toward having rebuilt, refurbished, and or new hydrants in inventory, as well as some gate valves, of which prior to this last purchase that we got a few months ago, we've never had. So with supply chain issues and things like that, makes me a little nervous that we might not be able to remedy a problem in a timely fashion. So.
And weren't there some towns having trouble getting parts for some of their older hydrants?
Yes, so some of the hydrants that we have, as a matter of fact, they're discontinued and parts are hard to come by. And when you guys approved to, I believe it was the December or November meeting to get the hydrants and the valve, it took 3 weeks for them to come here. So, I called him the next morning and said that it was approved, let's, get those coming this direction, and that's how long it took. So, I'd like to have some inventory to work with on that situation. So that's the valves and the valve boxes and the hydrants.
Okay, and as Denny said, or as I said, we don't have the prices for everything yet. We're still waiting on bids on the expansion for the garage and the roof replacement for the back building. As soon as we get those bids and we get the sheet, fill out all the prices, I'll work with Sarah. And my plan is to submit all the building aid items on the first application of the state for grant. If anyone sees any issues with any of the items that are a priority that we want to take off, or if we have other things you want to add as priority A's, let me know. Otherwise, that's what we'll submit to the state to start with. Again, the additions to the garage are listed, the safety equipment for the trenches, the new roof for the back garage, the fire hydrant equipment, and the valves are on there. The tower recirculation equipment, that's something that's relatively new. Denny, would you take just a minute to talk about that?
So every year that I've been here, I think it's every couple years, the EPA does a water plant inspection, which is kind of sounds a little odd for us, but and go through our records and our usage and et cetera. And every year, I know I've heard in past in our conversations with Jeff about having a recirculation method for the tank, the tower. And right now, we're currently working on the nitrification action plan, which is something that we need to develop for the EPA. And without going into a long explanation of that, about the only way that we can do any correction ourselves on that is through tank mixing, stirring the water in the tank to keep that from stratifying in the tank. And we don't have that equipment now. Mark is actually working on possibly getting some newer used recirculation equipment that the town of Normal didn't like how it worked in their application because it was solar powered, and they needed more tank mixing, and they're kind of undersized for some of their tanks, and they don't stir as fast when it's cloudy days, and which would all kind of work okay for us. So we do have an option there possibly in this coming spring to maybe be able to purchase some of their used equipment, but otherwise that price there is the price of a new solar powered stirrator or a mixer if you'll have it. So there won't need to be any additional power lines run up there or anything like that. It'll run off solar.
Great.
If I can add to what Denny's saying, it'll also equalize your chlorine content in the water, and it will keep, as Denny did say, the stratification where the water gets exceptionally warm in the summer and sits up top and is very aged, and it will reduce the amount of ice that the tank sees in the winter. Those are all very good reasons to get those.
One thing you might want to check into that when you go to look at that system is, you want to reach out to the EPA. There is a potential you're going to have to put in for a permit to permit that to add it to the tank. which can take up to 90 days to get approved if they approve it.
Okay, so, again, as soon as we get the rest of the prices for what we want to do, I'll work with Sarah and we'll start getting everything submitted. I will be sending out final lists to the board for, so you know what's going on. And we will work on prioritizing it as we get closer to actually spending the money. You know, if we have 250,000, then we can only spend 200, and we'll probably drop a few things off. So,
One thing I'm not seeing on any of these lists, if you're just gonna keep a list of things you can maybe buy, is like the cameras for the police. I know it's coming up in a couple of years, but if it works into some safety thing now, and we can purchase them now, we might wanna consider that at least. So maybe it should be on the list and we don't do it, but I mean, it was not an insignificant amount of money. And if it's free now, we should think about it.
yeah. How many body cameras are you gonna need? 2, I would guess.
Yeah, and probably need 3, one for a spare, because one may go down, but 3. But when we do that, the issue will be, when you move to the body cameras, you'll need to have a system that synchronizes with the cameras in the squad cars, your mobile cameras in the squad cars. So when we make that move, not only will we need the body cameras, and we've been holding off on getting new cameras for the squad cars just for this reason. Even though the squad car cameras are old and they don't function as they should, they work, but they're not functioning as they should function. We've been holding off because when you go to do the body cameras, that's when you want to do the squad car cameras at the same time. So that it's a synchronized system that works together. And the way the system will work then is when the squad car comes into or near the police department or comes into the bay, along with the body cam that the officer's wearing, it's automatically downloaded via the internet and everything else. And what we'll need to do is have a consultant work on that. I know that one of the things that when we talk to Brick Technology, that Brian Hatcher, the owner, he has done that for other police departments throughout the state. So that'll be the time to do it, is when we do that. So that'll be a little bit of an expense. The body cameras are not that expensive to buy. Squad car cameras are more, but what the big cost will be is the maintenance and the storage of the data. And then contracting with someone to retrieve that data in case it's needed for a FOIA request or for courtroom purposes. So it'll be somewhat expensive to do initially, but that's the right way to do it at that time. So if we're going to try to put cameras on there, Joe, we should probably cost out what it's going to be to replace the squad car cameras at the same time. You need to get them at the same time so they integrate.
Yeah, I'm not advocating for spending it. I'm just saying it's a one-time cost we're gonna have like in a couple of years. And maybe if the money just drops in our lap now, maybe we should do it now. Because we're gonna be required to do it in a couple of years, so.
We could also put the new speed camera output.
Oh, yes. And I'll be talking about the speed signs in my report, but there's some issues with our 4 speed signs that we have in town that we're gonna have to address. So, and maybe that's something that we could put in for that too. I don't know, but yeah, there's some issues, and I'll give you a report on that.
As far as the camera consolidation and all the different cameras and software we're gonna need for that, can you get a price estimate, just ballpark?
Sure. Oh, yeah,
We'll
absolutely.
put it on here, and hopefully I'm gonna have a lot more projects than what we're gonna get money, and then we'll at least have it on here to get approved. So, thanks, Joe, good suggestion. So I will get that added and we'll keep everybody posted. And again, you can come home, get home, or if you think of something else tomorrow, shoot me a note or give me a call. There's nothing concrete about this list, it's still growing. We'll keep working on it, so. Okay, that ends the topics under my discussion. Next on the list is water, public property, streets and zoning, Denny.
Water usage was 2.6 million for January, 84,000 a day. I think I talked with Sarah on what the loss percentage
I
is.
am the Bloomington bill, so I can't figure it out.
With 84,000 usage a day, it can't be very much. So kind of talked a little bit about the nitrification action plan. So that's earlier. That's us. We have to test chlorine and ammonia and nitrite in 3 different locations in town. We've been doing that to try to get a baseline to establish an action plan, being proactive on that for the EPA. Also, Mark, I'd like to thank him. Like to thank him and criticize him. Thank him for working on so hard on the service line inventory, which y'all should have got several months ago on the back of the bill. Is it copper, PEX, plastic, galvanized? He's been working ever since the turn of the year, calling people that didn't turn that in. I think we're down to around 150 that haven't done that. My criticism of him is he's left me for 6 weeks now for Florida. So good for him for heading that direction. So what's that?
Has he already left?
He left on Sunday. Yep. As we've been talking about, I've been working on some budget items and the grant things, and it's a little frustrating on some of the pricing from some of these contractors for the buildings, as I've reached out to several different ones on things from electricity and heating and construction, and they're all super busy. And anyway, I'm trying to get that corralled, and I've got some, but I wanted to have a couple bids in each area to be able to get that for you. As Dave kind of said, 411 South McLean Street, I've talked to the new owner a few times. I've been in that house a couple times, and he's working there almost every day, cleaning stuff out, trimming the outside up. The outside, other than some of the stuff that he's brought from the inside outside in the process of trying to get rid of it, is a marked improvement. I've been in 303 Southeast Street several times, talked to the owner, the contractor several times, had some inspection points on some things. Everything in there is going great. I would expect that house to be a nice house for somebody to move in to at that point. That's what I got.
Anybody have any questions? Does anybody have any questions for Denny? No, thank you, Denny. Next on the list, Village Marshal Mark Cuddy.
All right, so initially, we talked a little bit about the speed sign, so I'll just hit that first. You know, we have 4 speed signs that we use in the village. During the school year, we keep them closer to the school because we want to keep the speeds down during the time that the school is in session. And then if you notice in the summer, we move them more to the outskirts on Franklin and Broadway Street. It's a great service, and I think it's good that we have them. Now, however, the system that we have right now, it's an old system, it's an old sign. They currently use NiCad batteries. And so that's one of the biggest issues. The NiCad batteries are reaching the point where they can't be recharged anymore. They don't manufacture the NiCad batteries any longer, and they don't manufacture the chargers anymore for the NiCad batteries. So we'll have to make a decision on whether or not we want to try to convert the system to lithium, which we'd have to purchase all lithium batteries, probably about 8 lithium batteries, 3 chargers, and rewire the sign. The sign would have to be rewired for lithium. We'll cost that out during the budget, but I just wanted you to be aware. And we'll cost it out with replacing it with new signs that would be solar powered. But I wanted you to be aware that you may drive through town and see that the signs aren't picking up your speed. Well, it's just because the batteries don't hold the charge very long. Sometimes they don't even hold it for 24 hours. So we're constantly having to kind of like recycle our batteries through. We only have 5 battery packs left. So we don't have a lot of spare batteries, but we do our best to keep them working, especially the ones in, on Franklin. Because that's where a lot of the kids cross for the school. Well, that'll be a budgetary item. Maybe that could be something if you want me to price it out for the project that you're gonna submit. I can do that. You might have noticed that we put out the call multiplier about the parking ban. If you're on that list, parking ban went into effect today. And I just left it that until further notice, because I don't know how long the storm's gonna last. Seems like it works pretty well. We only had a few vehicles this last time. And so Denny and I just worked together on that. He's out plowing and if I see a car on the street, I stop, I walk up to the house, see if I can find the owner and ask them to move it off the street. But it seems like it works pretty good. I attended, of course, our weekly EOC meetings, EMA meetings, and then also as part of the police ethics reform bill that was passed by the state legislature, the requirements were supposed to take effect January 1st. Because of COVID and some other issues, they were pushed back to July 1st. So starting July 1st, there'll be some changes that I can explain to Steve what's gonna happen and to the board if they want. Mostly it's additional training that has to be done in certain areas, documentation of that training. A lot more reports that I'll have to submit to the state to prove that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. But that's been pushed back, so. Other than that, that's pretty much it.
The call multiplier is the phone one, right?
A text message.
I didn't get one.
Are you on that?
Yeah.
I'll go in.
Yeah, we can, yeah, see, right after the meeting, I can call it up on my computer and see if it's something, because I can read the report.
Oh, spying on
Oh, yeah.
Have you got previous parking ban messages?
me. I'm used to, a year or 2 ago, and my phone number hasn't changed.
Okay. Well, let's check that right. Well, let's check that right.
Well,
after the
that
meeting.
is an option.
Well, we'll check it right after the meeting, make sure we got the right phone number. Or something happened to it. Make sure we're-
Yeah, because if it comes in spam, I may have blocked it.
So you blocked me.
That's an option too.
And I just want to add, the board encourages all of the Hudson residents to sign up so they get the parking ban alerts. So it's a good service and we encourage the more participation we get, the better, more successful the program is.
Yes, currently we have, I think, 453 people right around there that are on that call multiplier list. So we added today.
When does the car have to be off the street, like after the snow's an inch deep or midnight or?
It's whenever we have a snow, we never put in the ordinance a certain inch. Some communities do, like we're 2 inches or whatever. Ours is just measurable,
Okay.
which means that Denny's gonna plow. So,
Okay, just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
Joe,
I'm getting sleep this week.
Part of that discussion, Joe, was if you get an inch of snow, but you have 30-mile-an-hour winds, that's worse than getting 3 inches with no wind.
Yeah.
So it was really hard to put an amount on it, so we left it open-ended. All right, does anybody else have additional questions for Mark? If not, thank you, Mark. Next on our list is Civil Defense Director Jeff. I know Jeff's at the fire meeting. Sorry, Richard. I know I heard sirens today. I assume they all went off.
I heard sirens, but I don't know if it was my hearing, but it sounded like there was a siren way off in the distance that was going in and out.
Some of the normal sirens, I think, rotate. So you might hear them from there.
Okay. Like I said, it was strange. I thought I'd lost my mind for a whole while.
A lot of it were normal rotate when they go off.
Okay.
Probably, I would guess that's where it was. All right, and next item on our agenda is our citizens hearing. And Richard signed up. Was there anybody else on the sign up list?
No, it's just me.
All right, Richard, if you'll please give us your name and address and then.
My name is Richard Lano, 505 Valentine, I'm North Middletown. I just have one, I looked at the agenda and there's a discussion about the IT contract and getting everything on IT contract. And last time we had this meeting, I think it was like $700 and some a month for that. And that, for what we're doing now, I mean, I don't know how much that's been done. I don't know if time and material is something that's taken into consideration or not, but that's a lot of money for, I understand when we get the cameras and stuff like that, that there may be some potential for that. But for no more than what calls we have, and that seems like a pretty, and I don't know what it is now, and I don't know the details, what's changed since the last time I was here. I just have a concern with that at this point, if it's that high, and do we know how much we've spent in the last year, or how many visits that we have on a regular basis? I'm pretty sure that's pretty darn low. I have a little insight on that, but so I'm a little concerned about if we would partake in something like that without having some kind of data with time and materials, or what we're doing today, or what we see. And we can always do it at any point, right? I mean, if we look at it, we see our time materials is here, and it starts going up, then that's when you look at that. So just have a concern with that. Just wanted to bring that up.
And thank you. We've been discussing different options and trying to get prices on what.
And I don't know the details, so I'm interested in this.
So we're definitely still on the pricing and information gathering stage. So thank you. There was no one else on the list?
Yeah.
All right, and then the next item on the agenda is our reports of standing committees. First, trustee Lynn. All right, next, Phil.
I don't have anything this evening.
All right,
Good luck, Jenny.
Kathy.
Okay. First, I'm gonna have the planning commission report their meeting and their recommendation for the zoning change at 608. I believe.
608 South Broadway.
South Broadway.
So we had a property on 608 South Broadway who, when they bought the property, there's two lots. One lot's residential. There's a piece of a lot behind it that's commercial. Those lots need to be combined. You can't combine the two. There's also some other insinuating circumstances about, what the village wants to do with how we keep our zoning, as well as I think something with the actual people who bought the house. They brought the information to the planning commission, and we discussed it, and we unanimously agreed that we need to move forward with the ordinance change and to change the commercial lot to residential, just as the ordinance states. And there was no concerns, no questions, or nobody at the meeting that was anti. We had the folks whose property who was there supporting it. Nobody had questions or oppositions, and we seen no issues with it. We think it's the right thing to do.
Did Jenny is zoning commissioner, were you at the meeting?
No, Danny filled me in this morning on the phone. I had some questions for him, so he and I talked this morning, and
Okay.
so I think we're pretty good.
You're aware of what's going on there. Okay.
Any other questions?
Richard, would you like to give any type of update on the planning commission from last Monday?
Sure. So we met the planning commission last Monday, and we had a number of topics, and the discussion went around that a number of these topics are probably not planning commission related. They're more activities that the board needs to engage in or that needs to be part of a current process. So right now I'm in the process of getting those documented out, getting them to the appropriate trustee, and Dave and the planning commission for moving forward and how that might fit in with what's currently going on. So that we thought we would be a little farther along in the plan, but this kind of got to where we feel with Dave and Kathy's interaction with us that these were more things that needed to be not in the plan, just needed to be on a to-do list kind of effort. So those are coming. There's a number of you on the board that will be seeing emails from me probably over the next couple of weeks. Looking for feedback, questions, or anything to where, we can fit that in with what we have, the information that we have, we think needs to move forward and why, and how that fits into some of the work that's going on now. So it's kind of a dialogue thing. We're not really looking to, we're kind of looking to work with the trustees as far as making that work versus putting it in some plan that doesn't really seem to fit. So really good. It was really good dialogue, really good feedback from both Dave and Kathy, and I think it really fits better in with making it part of like the policy or ongoing work. Any questions? You may have some. Okay.
Thank you, Richard.
Okay, the next item on my agenda is to propose the ordinance to change the C2 to the R2 for the portion of the lot at 608 South Broadway that is not currently residential.
So you're making a motion.
I'm making a motion to approve the ordinance.
So we have a motion to change part of the lot at 608 South Broadway from commercial to residential.
Yes, the county has already basically stipulated that in their, apparently they combined the lots already in the county level, but the Hudson level has not.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Do we have any final questions or discussion? Not, Allison, roll call?
And that's 1358.
Thank you.
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kathy Brooks,
Yes.
Aaron Kinder,
Yes.
Steve King,
Yes.
Bill Morris,
Yes.
Lynn Morris. Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay, the only other thing I have is I need to, a little discussion, I guess, with the board concerning the subdivision, the Prairie View subdivision part question. And I don't know how to phrase this, so I'll just blurt it out so everybody don't take anything personally. A couple people were not in favor of pursuing a park in Prairie View, even though their original plan stipulated them. What has happened, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but I think during the course of the different phases in Prairie View, because their original documentation was filed in May of 1997, is during their phases, because they had ordinances approved by phase, is the park situation was overlooked, was just missed. Because there, in none of the phases that I was able to review was there a park stipulated in them, except for the original subdivision plans. And my question to the board is, do you want to pursue this, or just say, we screwed up, let's be more careful in the future? Because what it will do is, if we do pursue it, we will have another basic public park that probably should be maintained by the homeowners association, but they will probably give it to the village, which means the village will have to maintain it. And depending on the sewer study in the future there, probably the homeowners association will be disbanded if they can get out from under their current tertiary filter issues. So,
Can I jump I jump in there? So I looked at the information Kathy sent me. I agree with everything she said. A couple other points. The original plan called for one of the park areas to be what was the design detention area on the southwest side of the subdivision, which, you know, by most indications isn't much of a park area. The other issue is from a legal standpoint, our ordinances say you have to dedicate a park or pay cash, otherwise we won't approve the subdivision. So we went ahead and approved the subdivision without the parks. The areas where the parks were originally laid out, some of which have been sold off, we don't have a super compelling case because their response is going to be, you screwed up and you should have told us to do this before you adopted the ordinances. So, you know, it's an issue we can push, and what was discussed before was a letter, but if they're resistant in a meaningful way, we don't have a great case to make them simply because, you know, we made the mistake. We shouldn't have approved it when they submitted it and whenever that was, so.
Like I said, basically my question to the board before this is dropped is it worth the effort to pursue?
Do the residents in the subdivision want a park? Has that been brought up at all?
I have not consulted any of the residents. Nobody there, as far as I know, ever said anything except me.
Yeah.
And that's more because I was doing an investigation into it. Because the planning commission had asked why there was not a park in Prairie View. And it's like, never even thought about it.
Right, I wouldn't either. I mean, I would like to know if the residents would want one, for one, if they knew or were interested, and then I feel like if they're not, then we can drop it. But if they want one, then maybe we should pursue it. I don't know, I feel like it's there.
Okay, yeah, because right now we're also running out of lots.
Right, that's that was my next question, where I didn't.
Yeah.
Right. What is the land area? Because they're already using the one area. Where are you gonna put it?
That's the thing, there's, what, 7 lots left? Danny?
Closer to 10, and I think the plans that I've heard are this summer they're planning to finish out the rest of them. Whether that'll happen or not, I'm not sure.
Okay, so if we do get a lot for a park, then I would assume the village would be paying for the playground equipment.
Well, that's the thing, because in the Prairie View covenants, which would affect all of the remaining lots, the HOA is supposed to take care of any public lands, and the park will fall under public lands. But a park is a public land. True, Pat?
Yeah, I'm not super familiar offhand with the language in the covenants that you're referencing. Ordinarily, though, a park dedicated to the village would be the village's maintenance. The type of grounds that the HOA would be responsible for would be like subdivision signs and boulevards and not ground expressly dedicated to the village.
Okay, well, because that's the thing, the land itself would have to be dedicated to the village for it to become the village's responsibility. But like the way I read it, during the term of the HOA, it would be responsible, but that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, because I know the park on the north end of town, the village paid for that park. Or not, they didn't buy the lot, the lot was given to the village, and then the village bought the playground equipment. We maintained the parking lot.
Right, that would be a dedication.
So that's why I thought if the village took possession, if it was, one of the lots was donated to the village, I think the village would again be responsible for putting playground equipment there and setting up a parking
And
lot.
that could cost the significant amount.
Yeah.
And I personally highly doubt that the developers would be willing to donate a lot. Myself. Yeah, you know how they are.
Given what Pat has said and just what I know of the history of the subdivision, I would vote drop it. But you know, everybody else could continue if they want, but.
Well, like I said, what brought it up was the planning commission asked why they didn't have one. So I investigated and was like, well, the one part is absolutely unobtainable because they've already got a house on the entrance. Where the second one was, there's houses already built on the entire area. And the few lots that are left are not really prime, you know, isolated from Broadway. So it was like, eh. So I decided I'd bring it to the board before I sort of flipped the coin and said, do we want to pursue it or should we just let dead dogs lie?
And it is possible that there was an agreement reached between the village and the development group to not have a park too.
And that is an option.
I mean, with
But
all the turnover we have on our side, none of us would know that.
yeah, and the ordinances that I read, almost all of them said with certain exemptions, but it didn't list the exemptions. Yeah, which is, we need to change that when we do ordinances. You have an exemption listed out. So just a consensus with the board is what I'm looking at.
Steve, you have any thoughts?
Only thing is, I mean, if they're not asking for it, and we'd have to go out to get it, I don't think we should. I mean, unless we, I mean, and we actually poll them and ask them, you know, if they want one.
I mean, poll a neighborhood and say, do you want a park? You know, 90% of the people are gonna say yes. It's something free.
If you had a meeting and asked them to show up to discuss it, I think you have. At least 17 houses with pitchforks show up, since there's only 17 houses on the sand filter, I guess it's different. But yeah, you'd have the people in the HOA show up, probably not happy.
Yeah.
And.
Do they have HOA meetings? still?
No, there's not really an HOA.
Okay.
I thought there was.
Well.
Aren't they collecting dues and paying for the testing that has to be done?
They try to collect dues.
Okay,
Their success rate is very low from.
I understand that, but I mean, they are paying for the testing that has to be done on the system.
Yeah, someone is.
Bill?
Well, I think there's limited lots up there right now. I think it's kind of late to try to jump in and put a park in it. The lots I'd be thinking about, I mean, wouldn't you probably want the sidewalk going into where the park goes? So you're limited to one side of the road. The only lots I can think of are right before you get to,
Broadway.
yeah, McLean on the curve. That's probably not the best place to put the main road. You don't put a park right off the main road. And then, you know, you got backyard people there, you got people that, I know there was a person that just put in a big swimming pool and big room addition in his backyard, which the park could back up to the lots I'm talking about. I'm sure he wouldn't like it. I mean, that's one homeowner. I mean, I'm not saying he wouldn't, but,
That's why I brought it to the board. It's like, it's at the point right now that it can be pursued, but do we really want to?
I just think right now it's pretty late.
Let it lie?
If we had, maybe more internal lots that were open, you know,
Yeah,
interior
there's
to the
no.
subdivision off the main drag, maybe we could, but this whole HOA deal that's been going on is ugly.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, then I would say probably the consensus of the board is just forget it.
was this brought up, I mean, by the planning commission or?
They asked why there wasn't a park,
Okay,
and my response was, I don't know. And when I say I don't know, I try to find out. So I did. So, okay, yeah, this late in the game, okay, we'll just let it go. But in the future, if we have should have another subdivision, we need to stay on top of that. because the ordinance does say every subdivision has to have a park or pay. And the HOA isn't gonna take anything. They don't have the money.
And I'd be willing to talk to Frank Heineke to see if he remembers anything as far as any agreements that were reached.
And that's the thing, this has been strung over 15 years. Yeah, and like you said, God only knows what deals were made. All right, that is what I have. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, does anybody have any other questions for Kathy? All right, please, Steve?
Only thing I got, came in the office and talking with Denny and Mark, there's a couple ordinances out there covering, trailers, RVs, parking, and, what is classified as a trailer, what is not. And looking at the ordinances, they're not clear. It's a lot of jumble. No offense, Pat, but I think you guys wrote it. I mean, you can't really make sense of a lot of it. And then we contradict ourselves in there. The ordinance on RV parking can be on hard service on private property between April 1st and October 31st. So if anybody right now has a trailer or anything on their property, well, you're in violation of the city ordinance or the village ordinance. I just took a quick drive around town according to our ordinances, and I stopped when I got to 30 violations. And I didn't even hit half the town. So we just need to kind of like look at these ordinances and what our intent is. I don't like overruling and telling everybody, because we say in here you can only have one trailer. So you can't have a boat and a camper. You can't have a trailer and a yard. I mean, I don't know what we're trying to do. So I, over the next couple of months, we just kind of need to dig into it and reword it and make it where everybody can understand what we're trying to do.
Good.
So that's all I got.
Sounds good. And just so you know, Pat's only been our attorney for a couple of years.
Right, and there's no offense to Pat, I got really.
Ordinance probably well before he was this firm was our attorney, so. Okay, so good. So be good.
I don't know if you want, like, say how to do it, or just take the lead and then, or how you want it done, or.
Why don't you and Kathy work on it?
Okay.
Is it-
And then if anybody has inputs, ideas, or concerns, the two ordinances are 4-6-2 and 6-2-10. So those are the two that we're gonna look at.
I'm happy to help if you want more input or whatever.
Yep. Just ideas and.
Okay. Kind of hits both your areas, so see what you can come up with. Steve, you got anything else?
About it, I mean, about the ordinances.
I talked with Mark actually, and then I talked with Steve about that. So, as Steve said, there's a section that talks about your recreational vehicle only being parked kind of during the summer months. I mean, my thought was with them is, well, during the summer months, you're gonna have it at the lake, you're gonna have it at the campground, you're not gonna have it at your house. During the winter is when you would need a place to store it. But maybe that's not our intent. We don't want the village to be a storage lot for your things. And another thing that was in there is a lot of people have construction covered trailers or have flatbed trailers. They haul their lawnmowers and four-wheelers on around town. And the way that section, if I understood it correctly, which was in 462, was you can only have that parked on your lot for 30 consecutive days and a maximum of 120 days a year. Well, as Steve said, I think we could pick one street in town and drive down that and come up with 30 really quickly. There's parts that talk about hard surfaces and parts that don't reference that. So there's parts that reference vehicles being parked in front yards, and there's parts that talk about what you can do on a parking pad. So I think all those things, need to make it much easier for Mark and myself to talk to people if it's a little more concise as to,
What we're trying to do.
yeah.
Right, because on that 30-day, just for example, on the 30-day one, it states in there, if you move it and bring it back to the same location, a couple days later, it's as if you never left it, so the time keeps going. So actually, you can never reset your time, according to the way this is written. So,
Is there any distinction in there between residential and commercial parking?
Not in 462.
no.
Okay, that might be something to look at too. See that review.
Says that on, that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Next, Joe.
I'd say, first thing I had on was vote on moving over to the VoIP service. So I sent these out a couple months ago. I can show them again here. Sarah, could you click on share and do everybody share? I assume probably nobody has this. So the deal with the VoIP service. So we really should do the VoIP service because in the end, we'll save money. So it's, this is a one-time cost, these two items right here, this 1,200, this 500. The 1,200 is to actually buy the phones and buy the power over Ethernet switches and stuff. And the $500 is to install them. So it'd be a one-time cost of $1,700 and then a monthly cost of $250. So right now, we're getting phone service from not Ameritech, where is it? Frontier. Right, POTS lines, like old school, right, they're billing us over 500 a month for our 6 phone lines, is insane. So if we would move to this service, it would only be $250 a month. So we move to this service, we're saving $250 a month. We pay off this $1,700 in 7 months, right? And then we'd be saving $250 a month. So there's not a real good reason not to do this since we'd end up saving money in the end. We don't have to do it right away, for sure. We could wait till next budget year if we want to, if we don't have the 1,700. We could never do it, but I don't know why that would make sense. I didn't go looking for more bids on this. I don't know if that 250 could be even lower with somebody else. I really expect not, is why I didn't spend the time. This is getting it from the Brick Technology guys that we had out here. Like I said, this is one of the 3 quotes I sent out, and this quote is completely independent of the other quotes I sent out, which we can talk about the other quotes here too. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or thoughts or anything on this converting to a non-ancient phone system.
I think the only question I would have is, can you still fax with this system?
Yeah, the fax is like coming email and stuff. You'd have to do it a little differently. Like when you want to send a fax, you'd scan it into your computer first and then fax it. But I don't know. That's pretty ancient too. I'm not sure how many people have actual fax machines anywhere on the planet anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of there's things that I have to fax to the state of Illinois because they don't accept scanned emails. So yeah, we do have still fax. So, yeah. Well, they won't let you scan and send it as an email. They only accept it as a fax or whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a way to do that with this. I guess we could make sure of that before we, made the purchase, but nobody really needs a fax machine anymore.
Which 6 phone lines are we talking about?
Sarah, what 6 numbers do we have? Is it 6? Did I get that right?
We've got, did you say 6? I don't know, we have 6, we've got
the PD.
We've got 2, 3 over in our office, and then the PD, you have 1.
But
We both have fax
we
numbers.
both have
So
fax, so
there's
there's
6 fax numbers.
6 with the fax numbers. Okay, so
There's
it's actually
only
less than
4,
that.
like, actually on numbers.
We wouldn't even need, what do you price it there though? So he priced us four regular phones and then 2 cordless phones. The 2 cordless phones are for you and Carol. And the 4 other phones, we had 4 phones, I thought, Denny's desk, Mark's desk, 2 police phones, I guess. They're just not separate numbers, is that what you're saying?
They're not separate.
Okay. So the six devices then, if we might only end up needing 4 numbers, 4 phone numbers that would, you can do all kinds of, I actually have VoIP at my house now. You can do all kinds of really cool stuff with routing and what rings and what doesn't. But anyway, in the end, this saves us $250 a month after we get the stuff installed. I could talk to other people to try to see what other people would offer.
It can actually save us like $300 a month.
Yeah,
We pay like $550 to $560, somewhere in there, I don't think that come up.
Okay. Yeah, so it's probably, I think you're right, I think it was $550, so it would be $300 a month less.
Can we get a price from Frontier? Because I know a lot of different companies offer this.
Isn't that who we have?
Well, we got that for old pots, you're saying get it from Frontier and VoIP?
Yeah,
Okay,
we do have Frontier, but the offer that we've got is from a different company.
yeah, okay, yeah, I can,
It would replace the Frontier lines, and we'll see what Frontier's got to say.
I'll get Frontier and I'll try to find someone else too that would do it.
Just one quick thing, we have to fax for regulatory purposes as well, and we are switching to a VoIP phone system. And I think there's something extra they have to do to make the faxes work, but it's a nominal cost where you can send even a traditional fax, not an e-fax. And I don't know the tech side of it. I can email the people who are doing my system and ask them for that if Brick doesn't have an idea for you, but there is a solution to that problem, I'm sure of it.
Okay, I'll ask them about it again too. So then the other thing was, one of the things was the IT support. Richard was right, it comes out to like $700 a month. That last meeting I told you that I would go back and see if I can get that reduced at all. I talked to them a bit about that. They really don't want to reduce it at all. This was already about half of what I did get 2 quotes on this. This was about half of what the other company came back with. I tried to get, said to, maybe remove the 24/7 on-call and stuff. And they're like, well, this is really just the package we offer and we don't really break out all these pieces. Dave, you had asked about only the 6. The very tough thing is 6 devices. That number would have to go up actually if we wanted every computer we had on support, but that's $65 a month. That part's not significant, but the whole thing adds up to $740 a month. As Richard said, I feel like this is a bit high just for our needs. I mean, I'm sure this is a great price and all. I just don't know if we can get $740 worth of value a month. I don't know what the employees think. The employees should tell us if their stuff's constantly breaking and they just can't work. I'd be happy to come help.
We don't have troubles on our side too much, it's pretty rare, and a lot more.
And in the future with what Marcus said, earlier about the cameras, this might be more of a need because we might have more infrastructure and we might need more support with making sure Wi-Fi syncs with things.
The issue that we have is that when one of our computers goes down, especially if it's in a squad car, computer in a squad car, can't communicate, can't do anything on that, it needs to be repaired or the situation taken care of immediately, because you just can't operate without it. And the same with our desktop computer. Does it break down that often? No. But when it does, it's like, we really need this fixed. That's why it is expensive, because what you're paying for is a 24/7 service. And I think with the assumption that you're going to have a lot of service calls, we wouldn't have that many service calls. So I guess what I think we would need, at least on the police side, is that some kind of service that maybe we can contract with somebody to pay per call. For an actual call, because we may not call for a couple months, we might not have a need, but then all of a sudden we do have one, and it's like it's crisis mode. We got to get this thing up and running. We got to get it running now. So it's almost better just to be like have somebody that you can just call when you need them and bill you like an hourly rate. I think that would be probably cheaper. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody offers that kind of service.
I mean, I asked them about that and I'm not sure they want to offer that service because I think then they worry about getting into a battle with you about how many hours were spent on stuff. I mean, I can ask them again if we could just flat out go with just that's just a paper call thing. I can ask them that. I can see if there's somebody else that would do it. Their rate was $75 an hour for on-site calls. And that was because they think they can do most stuff remotely already. Does everybody else kind of agree 740 seems like too much a month, more than we need, or? Okay, so I can continue to try to find somebody that maybe would be some sort of an on-call. Those places, when you do that, they usually tell you you're their lowest priority then too, right? Because you have a contract with them. And so if what you need is, something fixed today, there's another reason that kind of tends to not work because they don't have people just sitting around doing nothing. And they'd probably schedule you for the next day or something, but.
I'll also, see, I'll contact the mayors through the Mayors Association.
Okay.
And see what other towns are doing.
Okay.
Well, and the company that we use, don't they have to be a specific company that can deal with the police?
Yeah, they have to be LEED certified. And that's why the village of Lexington uses this company because I know they use them because I talked to them and they use them because of that. For them to touch the computers, right. The ones in the station doesn't matter. The ones in the squad car though, yeah, because of the access to everything that computer has. They have to be certified and check
I wonder if
that.
that certification, what's that cost?
It very well will, because you gotta jump through a lot of hoops to get that certification. So that could be one reason why that it costs quite a lot. Now, the last time we had a computer issue here, I think that the IT support person did an awesome job and fixed all the problems. But I don't know if you'll come out and fix it every time for me, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
You fixed it, and it's great now.
I don't mind them now, actually. I might not be able to come right away either. The laptops in the squad cars, like who installed those? I mean, do you know how to, if you had to reinstall it, do you know how to do it, or who did that?
The initial.
Yeah, like do we, I mean, there's a bunch of software and stuff on there. Are we paying some company to maintain that software on there or anything?
What we pay is a monthly fee for the access to use the software. So we pay every month for the two computers that we have. We have 3 squad cars, we have 2 computers. And if we need to change them out, we can easily take them out of a document and put them in the other car.
Okay.
So that's I think it's $94 a month, something like that we pay.
I mean, my thought was, even for like $740 a month, we could buy a third computer as a spare or something cheaper than $740 a month, right? So I mean, stuff like that, but we'd have to be able to actually, have someone load it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when we initially bought it, it was the county that loaded all the software for us.
Okay, and they've just been working since then.
Yeah, and they work. When they go down and they need to be repaired, you've got to have somebody that's certified in LEEDs to work on it.
Have we had to do that yet, though, or we haven't had to do that yet?
We haven't had an issue with the squad car laptops going down recently. They have gone down in the past, and that's when Dale was chief, and I don't know who he used, but he had to have somebody to come out and do that. I think he
used time and materials or something.
It was either the county or they had, I think, they were paying someone from the town or from their IT department to come out and do it as a side job, and they're certified, all of them are certified on LEEDs. So that person could come out and do it. But that person now just, I know he can't do it, he's too busy to work on the side like that, so.
Okay. I'll look into more, if you could find it from other mayors, that'd be great, Dave. But the third thing I just had was the siren. I put that on there in case I got something, but I actually didn't get a quote from the Emmett Sharf, who it is, guy came out and looked. He thinks it's going to be very expensive too. We do want to pursue it. If it's tens of thousands of dollars, we still want to pursue this and see how much it's going to cost us.
Yes, we want to see what it's gonna cost us.
Okay, so he's supposed to be giving me a quote to climb up the thing and get a picture of the motor And then also replace the motor, if we can get the other folks to tell us how big the motor would be. And he said any quote they gave us would have a huge disclaimer on whether or not the wiring would work. So we have to see what motor they recommended and then make sure the wiring going up the.
Okay, it's not going to cost tens of thousands of dollars to get the estimate.
No, it's free to get the estimate. So, just assuming it's gonna cost that much to actually replace it if we get there. So that's still going on too. I will forward the quotes to everyone when I get them. And that's all I have.
Appreciate you sticking with that. It hasn't been an easy thing to resolve.
Yeah, I wonder about this, like, like Mark suggested, buying everyone a tornado radio or whatever they're called, weather station radio instead of doing this. It would actually be cheaper. But we can keep looking.
You're right. Joe, you have anything else?
No, that's all.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Joe? Okay, if not, Aaron?
I don't have anything for tonight.
Okay. As liquor commissioner, I have nothing to report. The next topic is to move into closed session. Allison, did I print, is there a closed session on the agenda? I may have an old agenda here.
Yeah.
There it is, okay. So we want to move into closed session to talk about potential property purchase. I'm going to ask the audience to please wait in the other room while we go into closed session. Our closed session will probably take about 15 to 30 minutes. You want to come back when we're done? You're welcome to come back. If you want to wait, we'll have a conference room over here for you to wait in. If you want to go home, you're certainly welcome to do that. I need a motion from the board to move into closed session.
Actually, we're moving to closed session.
Do we have a second? Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Great, you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay, we will be moving into closed session.